run a 40-yard dash like right now. Not at all.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah.
God, there's no fucking
Yeah,
way.
no.
I couldn't
Yeah,
run
and I
at
was
all right
joking.
now. I would
Saying, like,
literally,
hey,
like,
while
my
you're at
legs
it.
would give out. Like, I'd probably fall over like 3 steps in with my knees would just be like, fuck you, we're done holding your weight up, dude. Like, you're gonna run?
All right. I want to.
Oh, no.
God damn it.
Oh, I hear you again.
Sorry, disconnected.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I noticed.
It back. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happens. It only happens in Discord. And it disconnects, and then like 2 seconds later, it reconnects.
Oh,
Weird.
Weird. I wonder why that
Weird.
is.
Weird. Yeah, no telling.
I
Something
suspect,
to do with Discord.
I suspect that with what she gave me as the diagnosis, they're just gonna play it safe and tell me to just not come in for a week until the 30th is probably the case, because part of my job is to walk around the house and make sure everybody's fine. Like that's the majority of my job.
Yeah.
Literally, like, the most important thing I do is make sure there's 12 people sleeping in that house, make sure the doors are locked and that the exterior lights are on where around each door, and then I go to bed. Like, that's my whole job. And, like, I like my job. I'm not trying to get out of it. I'd much rather just go to work on Sunday than stay home. It's not really all that fun not going to work. I'm not like one of those people who absolutely doesn't want to be at work for any reason. They absolutely desperately want an excuse. But, you know, this lady walked into the room and was like, oh, he has arthritic knees and he's fat. So that's what it is. Instead of, like, paying any attention to what I said. So that was basically a waste of my time.
Yeah, they've never bothered me before, but it was a sudden onset of the arthritic shit when I fucking slipped and fell and twisted my knee all fucked up like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's a brilliant fucking doctor, dude. Jesus Christ.
Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play it by ear. We're going to see when my work wants me to try to come in. I have a feeling they're going to have to give up and accept that I just can't come in and work. Because there's no other way. Because the other thing is... The other reason I'm there, the other most important thing, other than just making sure everybody's there and that the doors are locked, is if there's an emergency, I have to handle it. I have to get up and be able to, like, run around the house and, like, check if there's a fire, make sure the clients have evacuated. Like, there's no way you can work in a group home and not walk around. And hers was like, no more walking than from the car to the door and back, essentially. So it'd be a waste of time to have me there, because I'd only be able to go in and, like, sit in the office, and it would be
it's literally instead of the walking around before going to sleep,
have other staff on at the same time, I think, than to, like, have me on.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I don't care. Like, we'll figure it out. Like, if I go there and it's an absolute nightmare and I can't keep doing it, I will, contact the doctor, and I will unleash the ultimate power upon that doctor, which is my mother, and things will change post haste.
A huge thank you to Metal Technic Parts, the sponsor of this video. Without the metal parts they provided, the Lego sand art machine wouldn't have been
making
so
noise? Oh, that video just started playing.
Parts
what the
tons
fuck?
Of great parts, including.
That was weird. But yeah, it was pretty bad. So fucking Monday morning is when it happened. It was pretty bad. So I could not walk like without a cane. Monday morning, and even then, it was just barely hobbling back and forth from my room to the bathroom. Like, it was sheer force of will that got me up off the ground and in my car and home that morning. Like, I could barely fucking move. It probably took me to walk like the 12 feet from, like, in total distance from, like, the door to where I was, like, to walk to my car door. Plus, I'm carrying, like, a duffel bag that weighs, like, 40, 50 pounds. because I got like, you know, pillows and blankets and my laptop and any kind of medication I might need and some snacks just in case. Like, I don't normally eat at work because I'm just going there and like sleeping. But if I have like a panic attack or something and I'm up all night, I'm gonna want something to eat. Like, so I have like a couple, you know, bags of nuts or whatever,
Right.
just in case of. Because you know they never go bad. Well, I mean they take a really long time to go bad. Some like beef jerky.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
stuff. But literally, it's like 40 pounds worth of shit. It's like a pretty big duffel bag. Well, maybe not 40 pounds. Maybe more like 30. But it's hard for me to tell because I've always. I don't know. Isn't it? It's weird. Like sometimes it's just hard to tell when it's not like a really, really heavy weight. Like it's easy to not be able to tell the difference between like 5 pounds and 20 pounds. You know what I mean? Because they're just not that different.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So I managed to get home from that, but then it was just like hobbling back and forth. And then mostly I just laid in my bed because sitting at my chair made my knees hurt too much.
Yeah, like even just having them bent and sitting.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't straighten them enough to keep them from hurting. And then when I lay in my bed, I had to put like a pillow down at the foot so I could rest my feet on it so that they weren't straightened all the way out. And been doing like ice and stuff like that. So luckily I have enough knowledge to know, like, you know, it's a pretty bad strain. I was pretty sure there was no tears or broken bones, but I needed something.
Yeah.
Or work was gonna like get, you know, like you can't just not show up for, you know, 2 weeks.
Yeah, you gotta get the doctor's note.
Yep. And then it gets more complicated because it was on company property and all that other shit. I would have preferred it to be my doctor. Because I've had my doctor for a couple years, so at least, you know, there's some sort of...
Yeah,
we know
history,
each other.
whatever. I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm having a real problem with Kaiser. I think I'm going to have to work with them and work with my mom and figure out what we got to do about my back problems because I can't keep not getting that taken care of.
Yeah, that's weird. Do they even ever like go to like physical therapy or any of that shit? Like try to fucking...
All they want is I have to go take a stretching class with physical therapy was the last time I talked to them. They were like, well, we need you to go to take this class where they're going to teach you some stretches that should help your back. And it's like...
That's it, huh?
So multiple vertebrae broke and healed incorrectly. And I'm going to stretch that out. And that's going to fix the fucking broken bones?
Yeah, that's fucking bizarre, dude.
Right? Like you just hear it and you go like, that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, dude, any insurance I've ever had would pay for a good fucking, you know, at least a month of fucking physical therapy like 3 times a week. Yeah, that's bizarre, man.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, but I don't know what it is. I don't know. Whatever we do, I'm going to wait until my knees are, you know, a little better before I start fucking around with trying to get my back taken care of.
Yeah, I hear you.
So obviously, like, you know, a couple of weeks, but after that, I think I'm going to start working on that again and trying to get that worked out because I pay for the insurance. I should get something out of it.
Yeah, it's odd that that's all they fucking do, man. What the fuck?
Yeah, I get meloxicam. Ooh. I'm taking the maximum dose of meloxicam, so I can't take any ibuprofen of any kind. Because I'm already taking the biggest amount of anti-inflammatory that you're safely allowed to take, otherwise it'll fuck my liver up. Luckily, I can supplement it with a little bit of Tylenol here and there, like acetaminophen. Because usually I'll take acetaminophen in the morning.
Right.
Because, like, you know, I take the meloxicam closer to nighttime, so it makes it easier to sleep. Although it doesn't have a huge amount of difference on my pain. That's why I smoke so much weed. Because don't get me wrong, I like weed, but I don't want to fucking smoke it all day every day. It's not really that fun, but it helps a lot with the pain. So it's like, do you do it and not be as in pain, or do you not? So it's kind of frustrating.
Right.
And the other thing that gets me is when I go to doctors, I'm never looking for like pain meds, like because usually I'd rather not, unless it's an extreme thing like dental pain. Yeah. Because that's the kind of pain that, like, you just is absolutely nightmarish if you have, like, really bad cavities or, like, an abscess or something.
Yeah, tooth pain is fucking horrible, dude. Yeah, that stuff's rough, man. Although, well, I don't know. I guess usually you get, like, the Ambisol or something. That shit works. Like the liquid. There's a liquid Ambisol. I'll fucking put that shit wherever it's hurting. And then just swish it around in my mouth until half my face is numb. That shit works actually pretty good.
Yeah, but there's a point at which the pain gets more than that can handle.
I can't really get to it.
When the pain is more than that can handle,
I'm saying,
happy to take the Vicodin.
Yeah. If it's somewhere where the Ambisol can't really get to it, like it's too deep in or whatever the fuck the reason is, tooth pain is fucking gnarly, man. Yeah, that shit almost bring you to tears, man. Like, it's fucked up.
Well, I have a really high tolerance for pain to start with. So the tooth pain that I had where, like, that I desperately needed Vicodin and was happy to take it. I actually got Percocet for it.
Nice.
From Kaiser, not the dentist. Because they were panicking and worried. The person I saw at Kaiser actually made phone calls to a bunch of facial surgeons begging them to take my teeth out for me. It was that bad of a situation. But what had happened was the wisdom teeth coming in had cracked a tooth that was decaying in the back on the left side of my mouth on the back teeth. One of those had cracked. And it had cracked diagonally from top to bottom. And the half of it had come out, and the other half of it was starting to like decay and rot because there's no enamel, so it didn't matter how much you brush, like it's just gonna fucking go bad. Because it has to have that surface stuff to keep all the bacteria out, or it just goes nuts. And so that was the pain that I was in from that, along with another tooth that had cracked on the other side, but hadn't like broken anything off of yet. Mainly all the way in the back teeth from where the wisdom teeth were coming in, because I didn't realize that's what's going on, so I didn't go see a dentist. I was just like, oh, my teeth hurt. I'll take some ibuprofen or a little Ambisol, and then a couple days later I'm good and it doesn't hurt anymore, so I'm not going to waste my money going to the fucking dentist, because I was dumb as shit at the age of like fucking 21, I was a retard, so, what are you going to do? It's gone. Oh, it'll never come back. Good plan, buddy. But then, like, it swelled up on the side of my face, like, about the size of a baseball. Like, I was smuggling one in my cheek.
Yeah, that shit gets pretty fucking intense, man.
So, I don't know.
Yeah, that's up there with, like, fucking, like, kidney stone pain. Like, kidney stones are right up, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's...
Oh, it was the worst. And I ended up taking some sort of experimental antibiotic that they had that cost like $200 a dose in like 2001, with really good Kaiser coverage at the time. I had really, really, really good coverage. I was working for a company that actually gave pretty darn good benefits. And they injected me 3 times over the next 3 days with some other really expensive antibiotic.
Nice.
Sorry, I got like stuff I'm doing too. But the only thing that was really memorably bad about that afterwards, because I was in a sort of a delusional state, like I didn't really know what was going on because of the fever and the infection and all that, was when it finally started to break. The pus had to go somewhere. And that somewhere was into my mouth, and it was fucking awful.
No, as soon as you said it, that's where my head went. And I'm like, oh, that's fucking gross. So you basically did like a fucking Fear Factor challenge, like
I wasn't
without your
swallowing any
consent.
of that.
Yeah, still.
I had
Yeah,
several bottles of empty water bottles that I had to refill.
yeah, you rinse that fucking shit out for fucking about an hour or something.
No, that bottle, yeah, you just spit it out every time you get it until your bottle's full, and then you throw that bottle away and get a new
Yeah.
bottle because you don't even want to wash
Okay,
the bottle out.
okay. I was thinking that it all came at once and that you were like just washing your mouth out to get the taste out. Okay, I got you now. I see what you're
you
saying.
get like a teaspoon at a time. It was real fucking like not cool.
Yeah, that's fucking gross.
But on the other
That's
side,
pretty nasty.
I could finally open my mouth enough to eat again. So I finally got to eat something more than cottage cheese, Campbell's soup, and applesauce.
Yeah, other assorted
options.
Other assorted foods that don't require chewing. Yeah,
that was all I could figure out. I was, it was not real doing a lot of thinking at that point. And it was just like, you got the protein from the cottage cheese, some sort of vitamins from the soup and the applesauce,
Yeah, not a huge amount unless you're gonna just literally like throw a bunch of shit in a blender somehow. Kind of defeats the purpose, though, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want a steak, so I'm gonna grind it up and drink a fucking steak shake, whatever.
Oh, I would pass on a steak shake. That's
I'd probably just suck it up. Yeah. Oh no, that was it. You go.
Sorry, I'm in an apple.
Yeah, no worries.
I didn't have lunch today because I didn't want to have to take a shit at the doctor's office because I just knew.
I hear you. What? So yeah.
Oh, man. You know what show is surprisingly fun?
What's that?
Have you ever heard of Naked and Afraid?
Yeah. It's like usually a male and female naked, and they meet each other with their little weird fucking shoulder satchel things. Yeah.
And they gotta like quote unquote survive.
Yeah, it gets pretty intense, man.
In a crazy place. Yeah. They have Naked and Afraid like XL now.
Form. Wait, for fat people? Please tell me it's not for fat people. Okay.
No, there'll be like 8 people in the same area at the same time, or like 10 or 12.
Oh, I got you.
So they started out, the one I was watching the other night with some people, like some other guy was streaming it on a Discord, so I was watching it there.
Right.
They started out for 20 days with a team of 2, because they were doing a 60-day challenge. And then they had 4 teams of 3. Yeah, I think it was 4 teams of 3 in total. As well, that were all doing 40-day challenges. And,
I think, actually, I know I kind of poo-pooed it at the beginning, but it would be kind of funny. It would never happen in these PC days of ours, but for the XL to literally mean a bunch of fat, naked people.
That would be hilarious. And I don't blame you for thinking that. That would have been, if I just heard the title, my immediate thought would be like, I know what they're doing. Fat people stuff.
Yeah. But then I'm like, nowadays, no, there's no fucking way. What with all the fat phobia running around, they couldn't possibly get away with that.
It would be pretty tough.
Yeah. That'd get shut down immediately.
So each of the teams gets set off in a different place, and so there were 5 total teams. They were all in different areas, but they were all in like the same general location. So eventually they started running into each other and shit like. And it was clear that of the people there, the first 2 that were doing the 60-day challenge had already successfully done other challenges before together. And so...
Yeah, so they had it down already. Yeah.
They were on the fucking ball. Like, they got shit done. They were always doing something. Like, there's a lot of time where, like, you see the other team, there's just a whole lot of footage of the other teams just laying around doing nothing.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of footage of these guys, like, setting, like, 30 fucking fish hooks on lines that'll, you know, tied to a tree so that if a fish fucks with it, it snaps the hook and the fish won't be able to get away, so that they can, you know, run 30 different fishing lines at the same time, and then they're going up and down and checking them for food. Or they're building all the shelter, or they're collecting a bunch of tinder and making a container out of bamboo that's pretty close to watertight, so they'll always have dry tinder. You know, like cutting firewood. Like, they're always doing what they need to do to, like, keep their shit together. And the rest, everyone else is just kind of like, I'm conserving calories. While they were all eating fucking, like, snails and bananas.
Right.
It was very entertaining.
Yeah, it is pretty funny, dude. When you see the other ones where they're just like, I guess I'm just going to give up. I'm going to lay around and hope food wanders into my mouth somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Well,
Like, no,
and then,
we got to conserve our energy. And I'm like, no, you got to get more fucking calories in you, fucking idiot. You got to find some way to do that. You're still burning calories even when you're doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And what was it? One of the guys in there is Venezuelan. One of the guys was in the group of people I was watching with. He was talking about, like, oh yeah, and it's in the tropics. You know, you don't do anything from like 2 p.m. to like 7 p.m. That's when you want to nap.
What?
The rest of the time you want to be doing stuff. But from like 2 p.m. to 7 p.m., you got to be like down for the day because the heat's just too much and you don't want to fuck yourself up.
Yeah. Yeah, the heat and humidity, I assume, is a big problem. Yeah, like I said, just heat is not so bad, but goddamn, if it's humid, you're just sweating like fucking crazy. Ugh.
Oh yeah. And then what was it? The team of two that were really good found a fucking boat, like, that was kind of somewhat serviceable, and like made some fucking stuff with tree pitch or whatever, tree sap, to fucking seal the holes and made it usable so they could boat around because they were on a set of islands. And so they sailed to, from their initial spot to a better spot that they were looking up on the maps and said, well, this is a much bigger coastal area. It'll probably have more, fruits and more like animals and fish and all sorts of stuff because there's rivers. And so they went there. Or pretty early on in their 20 days before any of the other people were on the island. So when the 40-day people were off in like similar areas and they all had to like look for they all ended up in the same area because it's the only area that looks like it's good for resources. Like one of the teams got up on the beach and found their camp and just started like, oh hey, we're just gonna have some of these bananas. Like just started fucking eating their food.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like, god damn.
That's some bullshit.
Yeah, they were not happy.
I guess if you're actually like if they are legit starving, I mean I kind of get doing some shitty shit like that, but yeah.
They don't have to be starving. They can leave whenever they want. They can call the end of their game show experience whenever they want.
Yeah,
so I think if they're starving, it's on them. It's not on you.
Yeah.
It's not like you're literally
it
out,
would be better.
It's not like they're literally stranded there and no one's there. There's a film crew. It's a national park. There's resorts on the other side, like other of the islands nearby. You know, some guy
that's a good point. Fuck them.
Bit by a scorpion and they weren't sure. Like exactly what the danger was. Oh no, it was a snake. It was a viper and it was too young to be identified. So they couldn't tell if it was a really poisonous viper or one that might just make him hurt a little but not be that bad of it, So they didn't know. Yeah, it looked like it took them about an hour to hike out of the bush to get to, like, roads and drive them to a hospital.
Oh, gotcha. They're not roughing it nearly as much as
so
you
as
think.
much as they like to make it look like they're in the middle of absolutely nowhere, they're fucking not. You know, like they are out in the woods. They're in a national park where there's nothing, you know, but they're not like
Yeah, there's a lot of
miles
wilderness.
from
But yeah,
any
they're
sort of
not
services.
fucking. Yeah, they're not like 30 miles from the nearest road or any of that kind of shit. Yeah. Yeah, that's some bullshit then.
And that was what made me change my mind. Because at first I was like, oh, I mean, they're really hungry. Wait a minute. They just leave whenever they want. If they're really hungry, it's because they didn't find food.
Yeah. They just sat around bitching about how hungry they were.
Yeah.
Instead of doing something about it.
Well, and then you, the way they work it is they got that dumb shoulder bag thing, right? And they each get some sort of knife. So if you want to bring like a knife or a machete or an axe or whatever, you know, one-bladed weapon to defend yourself, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And then they each get to bring one other survival item, just whatever they want to bring. So, if the other teams had thought of bringing fishing hooks, they'd have been in a much better position. But none of those people brought the stuff that they needed to catch food on that island. So, which is kind of silly because they're in a coastal place. So, like, you got fish in the ocean, and then there's all a bunch of fucking creeks and ponds and rivers and shit, and a bunch of fucking freshwater fish. So, like, of all the things you would think you would really want, you know, fish hooks and fishing line are right up there.
Yeah, do you remember what they brought? What stupid shit they all brought? As their extra
somebody
shit?
brought like a pot, somebody brought like fishing, a couple people brought fishing nets, which was probably a good idea as well. But they never caught anything with the net, so kind of seemed
pointless. I was gonna say, that's a tough one to. Yeah, the fishing line and hooks and that much better. Much better. Then you don't have to sneak up on shit. You just wait for it to try to eat whatever you put on your line.
Yeah, and they kept finding these fucking super poisonous snakes that they just would be like, oh, guess I better fight the snake. Like instead of like, oh, that's a deadly viper, I should just not go anywhere near it and fucking avoid it.
Right. Yeah. What
they
the
were
fuck,
like, looks
man?
like lunch to me. Which I thought was probably not the smartest. Although ironically, the only person that got bit by a snake was not hunting a snake and didn't even know it was there, just walking along.
Oh, wow.
But they forcibly took him to the hospital. This other guy kept pushing himself so hard that he drove his body into like sort of like heat seizures, like hypothermia, but it's in the fucking jungle at like 80 degrees outside, so.
Right. Yeah, that's
he
fucking
started
nuts.
getting really cold, and so he had to go to the hospital, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna take you to the hospital, and we're gonna like get your heart rate down because he was having like tachycardia for a really long time. Because like it's normal for your heart rate to go over 100, like if you're jogging for an hour, you know what I mean? Like that's normal, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not unsafe. If you're not doing anything and your heart rate is suddenly over 100. Just sitting down for like an hour, that's really fucking dangerous. And this guy was like 123 per minute or something, just laying down and shivering.
Wow.
Having weird fucking seizures, talking about how he could hear his dad talking to him and shit. Like, yeah, dude, they took you the fuck out, dummy.
Yeah. They would rather not have the liability of you dying.
That's not an entertaining.
I would imagine.
It's entertaining when everybody gets hurt, but nobody goes like to the grave. But that shit was fucking funny. And then this one dude was he couldn't fucking not fucking flap his lips. Every fucking minute or two, he's flapping his dumb fucking lips, and then like a minute later, you're like, ooh. You look so dumb right now. Like, they found this citrus fruit, right? And they're like, we don't know exactly what it is, but we do know that it's not safe to eat more than one, because they told us that. Right? Because they were like, they don't want you to get sick. And so they were like, look, don't eat more than one of those a day. It's perfectly fine. Like, you're not anything to worry about. It's just, it's really, really high citrus. And the way that the fiber is in that plant, if you eat like 2 or 3 in a day, you're going to have really, really bad stomach cramps. You're going to potentially get medical issues as well. Like, you could get really sick and fucking die. And this guy was like, I'm built different. I get an iron stomach. So I can handle whatever I need to put in that stomach. It's just going to burn for fuel. There's not going to be any problems from me with eating this. I'll be totally fine. And then, like, inevitably, he does that for, like, 2 days, and then suddenly he's, like, fucking on the ground, like, cramping up. His stomach is all bloated and swollen.
Shocking.
And they had to take him to the hospital.
Like, what did he think? They were bullshitting him about it? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, all the other people in his group were like, look, we understand, like, we're all hungry, but, like, you can't eat more than one of those a day. It's really fucking unsafe. We do understand that.
And then that guy's like, nah, they're just jealous. They don't get to eat it.
Yep.
Whatever the fuck was running through his dumbass head. Yeah, that's fucking retarded.
Yep. And so they kept him for a night and alleviated the symptoms. I'm assuming, like, something to counteract all the citric acid or whatever. And he got to come back, and he's the one that got bit by the snake. And taken right back out. And it was just, him being careless as usual.
Anyway, yeah.
There was a great scene where there's, like, a group of 3 women, and they got let off on a beach, and it wasn't the greatest beach. It was kind of rocky and gnarly to walk on and stuff, so they were having trouble getting around. But the only thing they did for, like, 10 days was build a shelter and just kind of wander on the beach. One of them was a primitive survival specialist, according to the show, and the other one was, like, an outdoor survival guide or something, modern one or something, and then I forget what the third one was, but, like, they were all, supposedly well-versed in, like, survival, like, techniques and stuff like that. And the oldest lady there was like, here's my plan. So the plan is, we're just going to swim about 100 yards out into the open ocean over there by those rocks. And then once we get in, right? You immediately see the flaw. And then her plan was to just see what it looks like and see if they can just start swimming further to go around to the next beach, as opposed to just hiking over the fucking hill behind them.
Yeah, dude, what the fuck, man?
And the other one was like, I don't think that sounds like such a great plan. I don't think just swimming out into the open ocean, of which we know nothing, to see, what it looks like over there, like whether it's passable or not, when we can just hike over these fucking mountain right here.
Yeah, that's fucking retarded.
And that is what they ended up doing, because the other woman was like, I'm not just swimming out into the ocean and hoping. That sounds like
or if you're really adamant about it, you can do it, and we're gonna, just hike over and see if that works.
Yeah, you take the ocean route. Good luck. We'll hike. Yeah. The other groups that did travel over the ocean had some sort of flotation device of some kind. So even if it wasn't like a boat, it was like a central raft with like a big float bladder on it that they'd had because they had like a tarp or something, and they managed to tie it enough to make it like a serviceable float, and then they had like sticks coming out, so they all had something to rest on. So like they were in the water the whole time, but they weren't like in any real danger of drowning.
Right.
And they did have maps, so they knew like how far away things were. Like, to be fair, the woman knew it was like 100 yards. But it's like, that's just, anybody that hears that is just going to be like, no, that's a terrible idea. Like, why would you just swim out into the water? You don't even know what kind of fish or sharks or... jellyfish or what are those other ones? The spiky things called?
Uh, urchins?
Yeah, sea urchins.
Yeah, something like that. Or a rockfish. Yeah.
Something like
The
that.
ones that
Yeah.
literally look
Yeah,
like
yeah, but I'm
rocks.
saying there's
Yeah.
all sorts of things you could get, like bitten, stung, eaten by. You know, there's a lot of shit you don't fuck with in the ocean. Like if you don't know what's there, you should probably not go up past your knees. You know, and you should be really, really careful and make sure you can see the bottom when you're doing that. You know, like so that you have some idea of what's going
Yeah.
on.
I was gonna say, or were you thinking of stingrays? Is that what you were thinking of? Something like a
Oh
stingray?
no, like all of those. Like I just was thinking the
Yeah.
sea urchins, but like you know, those are all also really good points too. Stingrays and all sorts of shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say because those can be in really shallow water, obviously, or the smaller ones obviously
Yeah.
can.
Plus, they don't know
I
anything about
know.
the currents, and they're going to be swimming by a bunch of fucking jagged rocks. So it was like, it was a fucking dumb plan.
Yeah, you're like you do some kind of primitive survival shit. Like what the fuck? Yeah, yeah. I'm always curious on a lot of those. I'm like, are you just teaching people that are highly unlikely to ever that just want to do it to say they did it, and are highly unlikely to ever actually be into some kind of survival
I
situation?
bet you what's going on is it's a bunch of fucking suburbanite, relatively well off suburbanites that show up and
Yeah,
eat some
yeah.
ethnic foods and maybe try to eat like a cricket. You know.
Yeah, yeah. People are never going to have to actually. So yeah, so you must think like, oh no, I'll teach stupid shit,
Yeah, and then
and
they
it's not
have
going to
like
matter because they're never going to be in that situation.
maybe
Oh,
they
if they
use
do, they're just going to die.
like a manufactured fire making rig where you don't like because there's like because all the fucking lunatics survivalists out there now and like because it's a thing. There are companies that actually will
Right,
make you like primitive fire making devices. Like the bow drill, instead of like you making your own, like you can just buy a bow drill where it's all made for you by like a machine.
right, right.
So I'm sure that's the kind of stuff they would use like something that was manufactured with like the driest, most incredibly easy to catch a light tinder available. And then they start a fire with the manufactured bow drill and they eat a couple of crickets and maybe a grub and then have some salsa on their burrito and go home. I mean, it's probably
Yeah,
judging by
yeah,
her,
yeah. You're
she went
LARPing.
home
You're
pretty
LARPing as
early.
a survival. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she was the one that felt the need to lick the other one's foot, which
What?
was a little weird. So
A
one of
little
them,
weird.
when they got to the beach, one of them cut their fucking toe real bad. So this
Mm,
lady started licking her fucking toe.
wow.
I don't.
Is she? Was that one supposed to be like somebody that was teaching other people?
It's the primitive
That,
survival expert, yeah, the one that wanted to swim
yeah.
out into the
Okay. All right.
ocean. So I
Okay. Yeah. So I'm
find a lot of her
thinking. Yeah.
judgment
She's not
very
teaching
fucking
anybody.
questionable. What are you
Yeah. She
doing?
just
Licking a
like.
stranger's blood off of their foot? Okay, that's
Right.
a survival technique that I've never heard of before, and I'm quite
Uh,
positive no one else
so
has
yeah.
either because it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen, and I'm
Yeah.
cringing so
She's. Yeah.
hard.
Yeah. It sounds like something where she's just taking advantage of dumbass fucking well-off people that want to feel like they could survive in a fucking survival situation. So she just
And
feeds them a
clearly
bunch of
she's in
bullshit.
defeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Short-haired older lady who's single,
Right. God damn.
never been married. Yeah, she's totally doing that for the other girl's benefit.
Right.
She's not getting off on licking those feet.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, dude. Way to be subtle, lady. If you need anything else slick while we're out here alone, let me know.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, that's fucking weird.
Yeah, one of the guys brought like goggles, like swimming goggles.
Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. As their one item?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they brought? Goggles?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know. I guess that can be helpful, but goddamn, you could probably think of at least 100 things that are more helpful than goggles, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jesus, dude,
Fish
that's
hooks,
fucking
fishing
stupid.
line, rope.
Because it's not, I don't like opening my eyes to water,
A bow.
but
Bring a whole bow and then you
yeah,
make arrows, you know?
yeah. Jesus, that'd be funny, dude, to bring like a compound bow or something, and then you're just shooting homemade arrows. That would be pretty fucking awesome.
No,
It would probably not work
you
the
could
greatest.
bring like a regular compound bow would probably be too powerful for handmade arrows. Because a lot of those arrows are not going to stand up to like 80 pounds, 100 pounds of force like the compound bows throw out. Plus, it's really easy to break a compound bow just hanging out in the fucking woods with no cover of any kind. But you could bring like a regular bow.
What's the other one? A recurve? Yeah.
A recurve or a regular bow would be just fine. And you could easily find enough straight sticks and just, grind them against a stone to make a point and shoot small game like birds and rodents and stuff like that with it.
Yeah. I just thought it'd be funny to see them out there naked, walking around with in the primitive wilderness with a fucking compound bow.
Oh.
Just the image was pretty funny in my head. I'm not sure why, but
judging by all the people I've seen on it,
we're really roughing it.
I was actually thinking of what you would really want to bring, but what you were saying, if one of them thought of bringing a bow, is 100% what they would have brought. It would definitely be a compound bow before it'd be any kind of reason, because none of these people have any fucking brains. And we figured out what was going on. For doing like a 40-day challenge or a 60-day challenge or any of that kind of shit, they're just getting paid like a few $1,000s. Like $4,000 or $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah. There weren't any specifics, but it was very clear on the internet that it was low single digits for what they were doing.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want me to go to a deserted island with a bunch of other fucking dummies and try to survive, and I could really genuinely get like severely injured or sick or ill, because some of those people get like weird exotic fevers that
they
last
almost
for 2
fucking
years,
die.
And some of them get really close to death. Yeah, and some of them permanently injured. Yeah, like the amount of money they're getting for that is not.
And there's no there's no like reward. Like they're not competing for a prize or anything, right? It's not like some of them where like the winner gets fucking $100,000 or something, right?
Yep, you're right.
So they're only getting paid to do that, a few grand. Jesus, dude, that's nuts. It'd be one thing if like that's the least you're gonna get and you're competing for more, but that's fucking dumb. God damn.
They might get more,
especially if you have any
even
kind
if they
of
do
job.
get more, it doesn't.
Like, I mean, I would do it probably.
Digits. So even if there was no specific amount, it's entirely possible that it's like, for a 40-day challenge, the first 10 days gets you 1,000, the second 10 days gets you 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 if you last the full 40 or whatever, like, that kind of shit. It's probably some sort of scale. I wouldn't be surprised. But it's not over like $5 or $6 grand that they're getting for the thing. Yeah,
it wouldn't be worth fucking like, taking time off from your job or whatever. Not at all, really.
Which I think is intentional, because that's how they guarantee they get fucking idiots on the show.
Right. People who aren't good at math or economics or anything. I wonder if that bitch that was wanting to swim out bothers to point out that she was on the show.
Oh, yeah.
As a sales pitch or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't that much longer
I'd be like, I hope nobody ever sees that.
That she started crying about how she belonged back home in Australia. and left.
Wow.
She's like, I belong in Australia. What am I doing here? No, it was shortly after like it became apparent that none of her ideas made any sense, and no one was going to listen to them. Like they weren't just going to be like, "Oh, but you're an older woman, so we have to like, you know, go by your wisdom." They were like, "No, we don't want to die,
alleged,
so no, we're not going to go drown in the fucking ocean, you crazy bitch." You know, like, oh, that was so funny.
I thought it would be an interesting idea to see how, like, you would need a decent amount of people, right? But like, what if, like, how long would it take? I'm not sure what amount of people it would be, but like, how long would it take before you could get up to the point where you could like fabricate shit like from scratch, like to where you could get up to, not modern day necessarily, but like to like I don't know, like
but you're
maybe
saying
Middle
like,
Ages shit.
like there's
how
a guy
long would
who
it
can
take
just take
a group
chunks
of
of metal
people?
and like chunks of metal and just like melt them into fucking silverware or something, right? Like where they're
All right,
actually able
yeah,
to
that
like
kind of shit.
produce
Yeah,
things on a scale where it's no longer like barely
yeah,
getting
like
by.
not necessarily like electronics and shit, like not that far advanced, but like, yeah, I'm not sure where the line would be set. Although that would be interesting too to see how long it would take to where you could literally get up to the point where you could build electronics or do shit like that. That would be, you need a lot of people. You know, you'd need fucking a ridiculous amount of people, I would think, to get to that point. But find some level of technology that's somewhat feasible, and just see like, all right, we're giving you
Yeah, the main
absolutely
thing that
nothing.
would limit that is if they were doing it just on their own, like with nothing to start with, like they just whatever the clothes they're wearing is all they get, kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know, they're starting off with
yeah. I'd
stone
be
tools
curious
and
to
working
see
their
just,
way up. I think the main
but like a lot of people,
inhibitor wouldn't necessarily
like you know what I
just
mean. You
be an
couldn't have
amount
like
of
8 people
people.
or something.
It wouldn't be the amount of people. It would be how easy is it to
The
get
intelligence
food?
level.
No, how easy is that area to get
Right,
food in?
right.
So like the harder it is to get food, the less time they can devote to other things. So even if you had more people, it would
Yeah,
still be,
yeah,
you know, each person is also still going to need to
yeah.
eat.
It would actually make it tougher.
Yeah, it could
Yeah, actually, the
potentially
more
make it
people you
tougher
have, the
because
more
maybe
you have
you
to
stress
feed.
the resources in that area
Yeah,
enough that they can't maintain enough to eat with too many people. But it's going to be like
right, right.
when they get to the point where they can start farming and growing and oh, sorry, pardon me. There, fucking trying to eat an
Yeah, I'm
apple.
thinking it would take. Yeah, it would.
They'd
Yeah,
have to get to
yeah, it
farming
would
and
definitely
stuff.
be a very long-term project.
But they already have a lot of knowledge that a lot of the people way back in the day didn't have. I mean, initially, like, you know, in the old, you know, medieval times, like the fucking farmers in England would just scatter peas in a fucking field and hope they grew. Right? Like, they didn't understand that, oh, you gotta plant them
Right,
about
right.
2 inches down and then cover them with soil loosely and water them in. And then if you plant them, you know, an inch apart in rows, that'll work really well. And they can, you know, work better. You get better yield that way or something. So they just would just fucking throw seeds in fields and shit. So you'd have to get to the point where they were doing some serious agriculture to
Wow, like
really,
that recently. Yeah,
yeah. So once you got to agriculture, once
yeah. They
that part
understand
was
you have to actually
gotten
like
down,
bury the seed.
they'll fucking light speed run the rest of technology. It's just that part is the one that's got to get to
Yeah,
first. What's up, Samaj?
Hey,
yeah.
what's this about farming?
Oh, he was wondering how long it would take people to get from basically just going out in the woods with like Stone Age to like how long would it take a group of people to get to like technology, you know, like modern technology or, you know, like Middle Ages technology. Like how long would it take to get all the different stages there? And how many people would you need? Like, could they do
Yeah,
it with
starting
like
off
10
with
or 20
essentially
or
nothing.
100, you know?
You know, I think I've been thinking about that a bit here and there because I think it sort of depends on necessity and importance on things. So, like for instance, I've been a lot of people in the whole conspiracy theory kind of thing. They've been posting pictures of photos from these books about the 1896 World Fairs in Chicago. I don't know if you guys ever heard of the World Fairs or anything about it.
Not a whole lot, but I have.
Yeah, I know about them. I haven't heard.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about them. Yeah.
Well, essentially, it was like a fair showcasing like new technologies and stuff, and people would travel around the world and they bring this stuff over and they talk about the things that they discovered. And these books that were published essentially covered all the various different things that were on display, all the things that they were showing, all the things they're trying to manufacture for people to buy and purchase and that kind of thing. And the shocking thing, because if you go through these books, and the value of them just skyrocketed on eBay, because they used to be, you can get them a fair bit of them. They were only like maybe $5-6 on eBay. Now they're about like $100 to $200. And I think part of the reason for that is because of because I go through, like, the people are going through the pages of these things, and things were shocking because they had fucking electric scooters back in like the late 1800s. They had they had all these electric vehicles, all these kinds of stuff, and not only that, I mean, like, because if you look at old footages, it's like, oh, I guess that made sense because you could see like the trolley trains or whatever. They had those little electric cables in there. It was all run on electric, no gas, no nothing, and a lot of things are about that. And there's even video footage of the night sky.
You know that, like, the electric engine and the gas engine competed for a very long time, and like, yeah, like the gas engine won because the government decided to, like, help spread gas stations and shit.
Yeah, well, essentially that's how it was. The government war on its people, and so essentially the government won. And so you think about it from that context, it's like, yeah, you have to really be careful, because if the government wants to crack down, I mean, they will, and they've done it before. But like, you also look at the things, because we see like electric scooters now. Essentially, like, everything we're seeing like with Tesla is stuff that already existed. We're just rediscovering old technology. And what's been talked about is like, well, it's not that we rediscovered, it's just that certain stuff was just sort of forbidden. But you also have to think about it, because if technology was as advanced as we saw from back then, how come they didn't create things like digital screens or anything like that? How come they didn't make anything like that? Well, it was due to priorities. It's like, well, we wanted like functionality in society and all that kind of stuff. They didn't actually think about like colors or displays or something. We're unique in that this is the ones that we actually focused on digital.
Well, yeah, everybody grew up with TV, so focusing on things like that and entertainment for a lot of tech makes sense. Yeah. Because they grew up with seeing pictures, and it would only make sense that they would try to make more complicated and better looking pictures, and you know, it was a familiar tech.
And through that, we were able to get things like televisions and the internet and all that. It's not that they couldn't do that back then; they could have. But it's just there was just no priority put into that because there's other stuff. Nowadays, it's a bit different, and I think that we're sort of going in a different route because, like I said, people are rediscovering this technology, and I think we're going to enter a new era of electric cars, sure, but it's not like, I think.
Oh yeah, what was it? Look up the story about the Chevy Volt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a crazy one. They had perfectly viable electric cars in like the 90s, the early 90s, like totally reliable, more than enough range to get you where, you know, most commuters would have been happy to have one. And then they just fucking took them all back one day and left them to fucking rot somewhere in the desert.
Like, someone had made
like, nope, electric cars aren't allowed. We're gonna turn that switch off.
Yeah, well, and because a lot of them, and then you listen to things like Nikola Tesla, who apparently had the whole free energy stuff that was going on. But yeah, and so of course,
yeah, he wasn't telling his investors.
Oh no, you're breaking up on us, Detroit.
Yeah, he was trying to figure out how to literally like transmit it into the fucking. Damn it! And I interrupted. Great.
So
never mind. Damn it.
Were you referring by chance to the Tesla's idea of transmitting electricity or something?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh,
transmitting electricity.
Because I caught something about Daytwile talking about sending the energy through the air.
Yeah. So the working theory is that there is energy in all things from
Through
air to
the ground.
Yep.
Through
Yeah,
the ground.
through the ground. Yeah. The best conductor of that would be like copper.
Yeah.
But then you'll also notice that we stopped using copper for everything. Like we used to have copper for our plumbing. Now we don't. We used to use copper for our cups and cutleries. Jewelry was all made out. Like copper was like the most important thing that we put most important metal in the world. And then we just sort of switched to like other kinds of like from aluminum and all the other stuff. Nowhere near as good, and none of it's very conductive.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's like gold is probably more valuable as a computer component than as just raw gold anymore.
Yeah. Like if you go onto Twitter, there's various different people talking about copper and how great it is. You go to anywhere else like Facebook, and you look up the same kind of stuff. You'll see people say, "Oh yeah, copper's a worthless metal."
Wow.
It's hard to know what's what. I think time will tell how good things are. So.
Yep. Oh yeah. And as tech goes, like I think. Oh yeah, there's actually two ways of looking at what would be the inhibitor for like how long it would take you to get to tech. Is the availability of energy of some source, like whatever that is, whether it be like combusting stuff or figuring out electricity. But also, I was saying it would take the biggest indicator would be like how long it took them to get to farming, because once they get to farming, they can have enough food that people can just do other things.
Yeah.
One person can make enough food for a lot of people. So until you get there, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, one of the other things, and maybe I'll try it in the springtime, because they were talking about like, because I was looking at the whole copper, and I think they call it electroculture, which is how they take the energy from the air and stuff. And they say if you take copper, wrap it around a stick, and you stick that stick into the ground in your garden, give it time, and then it'll actually help the plants grow. And it's better for it than other stuff. And the only reason why that was not promoted in like farming is because a lot of farmers and stuff were getting kickbacks from the fertilizer company. So it's like, well, if you put it in copper, you'll piss off your fertilizer suppliers. So, they just sort of decided to do that.
Huh.
Apparently, there were cases where farmers were trying to use copper, and apparently the fertilizer companies, decided not to sell to the farmers anymore. I thought that's interesting.
Oh, weird. I don't know. Yeah, there's all sorts of weird shit that happens with, like, all these different fucking industries and stuff. Like, I wonder, I'm sure if you scratch the surface, like, they're all pretty fucking dark and weird and shady. Like, like, I'm sure, like, the airline industries have did some weird shit they've done in the past, and...
Well, yeah, what special interests and fucking lobbyists have fucking held back over the years. Yeah.
Well, a lot of deals have been going on. Like I remember hearing about like why women wouldn't work and all that kind of stuff because they'd stay home and take care of the kids. But there was other things that also came in there, is that women were not required to pay taxes, because how are you supposed to pay taxes if you don't work? And as a result, like when women do decide to work, apparently they still don't have to pay taxes. I thought that was interesting. So
yeah, because you're the aberration, you're not the norm. So there's no reason to, even though they're getting to keep all their money and the government's not getting a piece of it, it would probably cost more money just to make arrangements to take that money from the few women who are working at that period of time, because there were so few.
Yeah, well, from what I heard, it's like to try and compensate for that, they actually they would actually raise the taxes on men, because they figured that their wives weren't paying the taxes, but they still need to collect the taxes. So they would double tax the men. So then they would actually need women to go out to the workforce just to survive.
Interesting.
But then the other problem with that is that they said, well, okay, if a woman goes out and work, like if she has to work because the men are being double taxed, then who's going to take care of the kids? And then like the school industrial complex or whatever came out there and they had the standard educations and whatnot. And essentially, governments and corporations would educate your kids, and that's where we end up with the school system.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then you look at the education that's being taught, and it's all corporate owned. So it's a corporate industrial. So essentially, like, it used to be that the kids would stay home with the mom, and they'd get their education through the parents and all that. Sometimes they have like a small schoolhouse that the community would pay for the teachers. Because when you look at schools back in the day, schoolhouses were kind of a luxury of small towns. And they were. There'd be like one or two teachers, and that was about it. That's all you. It's not like they and some kids they couldn't get because they come from towns that didn't make a lot of money. Or you get parents like, I don't trust other people looking after my kid. And nowadays we're like, oh yeah, we expect you to send your kids to school, otherwise we'll start charging you with something or other.
Yeah, you face criminal charges and all sorts of wacky shit.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta be real fucking careful about that one.
Mm-hmm.
They will take your kids from you.
I'm not even sure do some states not even recognize homeschooling as a thing?
As far as I know, there aren't any that I'm aware of. I couldn't tell you on a state by state basis. There's 50 states. It's just unless you're got kids and you're looking specifically for that information, I doubt anyone would know like all of them.
Like I remember,
I have no idea.
Like I remember during COVID, neighborhoods here in my province, or in particularly in my city, a lot of parents were upset the kids weren't getting an education because they had to stay home. So the parents pulled their money together and they hired a private tutor. And what they would do is that they would rotate out. So the kids of the neighborhood would go to this one parent's house, and in her living room they do their classes, do their education. And then another day they go to a different parent's house, and then it's the same teacher, same tutor. They would just sort of do that and rotate out between the houses. That way, each parent could see and observe what's being taught. And the parents were actually quite happy. They liked the quality of the education.
And then once every day, or every week or whatever, you get to like make sure that you're feeding the kids, and then the next person's feeding the kids, and cause I'm sure they get at lunches and stuff,
Well, and they make sure like you can observe the education. You can make sure that you're getting your money's worth out of that. So, and the parents loved it. They thought it was great because it really worked. They liked what they were being taught, and the kids actually were learning stuff better than they would in school. Part of the problem with that is when we go into school, there's sometimes too many kids, and sometimes you have teachers that just sort of don't care. So yeah, it was good, but of course, I mean, like obviously you can't have that. Like, what do you do if your kids are very well educated? Well, society can't run that way. We need stupid kids. Speaking of which. Side note tangent there. Apparently, from what I've heard, kids born in the last 3 years have a 30% decrease in IQ. And that's in kids who have been born in the last 3 years.
That's actually pretty believable.
30%?
Yeah, 30% decrease in IQ.
That's a high number. Holy shit.
I've seen videos of teachers talking about how kids are illiterate in like high schools, but they know how to do like every TikTok dance.
Yep.
And there's no pressure whatsoever on any of the teachers to do anything about the kids who are just fucking absolute morons. Like they're not held back grades. They're not in like there's no like meeting with mommy and daddy and we talk and we like say, Precious is not going to graduate high school because Precious is going to graduate regardless. That's the problem. So that's very believable. That's what I've been seeing teachers talking about when the few that like complain about not complaining about getting too little money, but they're actually complaining about stuff that's real.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of these kids are being trained to be activists as well, which is like a disturbing trend.
Yeah, they'll get like extra credit to go and like participate in riots and stuff.
Yep. Well, and like you talk to these kids, and they know about like slavery and shit like that. So that's I want you to know your ABCs. Do you know your ABCs? No. It's like goddamn. So, yeah, I think.
But they know all the TikTok trend dances.
If I say, kid, do you know how to floss? It's like, yeah, I know how to floss. And he starts dancing. I'm like, no, I meant actual floss, dental floss.
What's that?
I haven't seen that dance.
Good Lord.
What, the floss? I guarantee you've seen it. It's
I meant dental floss.
Oh yeah.
Specifically, I was saying what the kid might be thinking.
Dental floss, is that like a different kind of flossing? Do you move your arms different? How is it different?
Is dental a type of pose? Am I supposed to do that with? Like, Jesus Christ, you kid. It's like I'm so scared for this next generation. They have been so attacked. They are so dumb.
Oh yeah, you know, like there was a gal who hangs out with the karaoke group, who proudly announced that like she didn't fucking read books. Like I was talking, I was like, "Oh, you do any reading? Like, books and stuff?" She's like, "If I'd ever read a book."
I know.
It's like,
no.
I know why you're, politics are the way they are, and why you're as dumb as you are. Right. You're just a fucking moron. Like, it's sad, but oh yeah, the floss dance. Yeah, we've all seen that little dance there. What's the? Oh, what was that? Is that the kid that Katy Perry like made out with or whatever?
No. God damn it! I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah, there was some kid who was gonna like give her a kiss on the cheek or something reluctantly because he was like, "You're fucking weird. I don't want to kiss you, lady." And she fucking turned and like tried to fucking like make out with him for a second there or some shit. And he was like 15 or 16, and you could tell afterwards he was not real thrilled about that. He was like, "No, Grandma, no." Oh, man.
You remember her weird glitchy thing on stage where her eye kept closing, like one of her eyes kept closing, and she would like push
seizures or something.
To get it back up.
She was trying to say like how it was totally normal and no big deal. I was like, what do you mean? You just fucking left the fucking planet.
Cannot say I'm surprised.
They're all robots. Fucking them and the birds. None of them are real.
Not the birds again.
These fucking birds. Oh, what is it? The fucking mayor of this town that got in and just started stealing money from the town and like blowing all their fucking funding and stuff. Went from a $2 million surplus over the course of like 2 years to an $8 million deficit. Like, I saw a video now I posted up here that goes into even more detail. She's apparently got some fucking slum housing that she's making money off of. There's like a fake bank that's like taking all the money in and it's being hosted at a building that's supposedly for sale but never gets sold. And like she has a charity as well that somehow like collects money but doesn't ever, like, there's no way for you to find out how that charity works, where it is, or how to give it money. Like, just all these blatant crimes where she's just stealing money from the town. And,
sounds like a Canadian politician to me.
And they can't get rid of her. Like, they just can't fucking get her out because she just won't. Like, she just has the authority to like make laws and shit apparently.
Was she the one where they did the recall and then somehow the courts threw out the recall? Is that the same bitch?
Yeah, the recall was thrown out for some stupid reason. But like, she's also set it up now. So while she gets about $300,000 a year in pay, if in the upcoming election, if the other person wins, they can only get $25,000 a year in pay, which is in blatant violation of the Constitution. Amazing. It's very, very much and obviously like not okay or legal, and it's just fucking insane. What I think is hilarious is that any of these motherfuckers think she's gonna lose that election. Like, she's just gonna rig the election, guys. Like, she's not gonna go. The only way she leaves that fucking mayorship is in a box. Like, let's be real. And I'm not in, don't go do anything. Nobody should be doing any of that.
Right.
But like, they're not gonna get her out in any legal fashion. Like, that's not how criminals work. Then she's not just gonna be like, "Oh, you got me this time, guys. Shucks, fellas. Guess you win."
Yeah.
Well, it's like
she got some way out of it, and she's got another DJ lined up to celebrate her fucking victory.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that literally had the fucking DJ come in, and they were playing the "Ain't No Stopping
there was
Us
a
Now"
discount
song or whatever.
on ballot printing. If you print a certain number of ballots, you get a free DJ hour with the DJ.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, they used to print out party invitations, but once they switched to ballots, boy, their fucking business was booming.
Damn.
It's like New York is completely fucking broke now, because they spent all their fucking money putting random illegal aliens in fucking hotels. Right? Because they have a whole thing about how, like, in New York, they're legally obligated to provide shelter to everybody. And so they literally just gave them hotel rooms. They went and said, like, to the hotels, like, if you have any open rooms, you legally have to let us use them to house illegal aliens. And the hotels were like, well, you're going to fucking pay for it. And they're like, well, shit, I guess we have to. And so here's the best part. These motherfuckers, so fucking dumb, did not learn their lesson. They hate their mayor. They all know the problems are going on. They all agree on the problems. They want to bring Cuomo, the ex-governor,
dude,
as their mayor.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, are you guys fucking retarded?
Did you not learn a goddamn
what
thing?
What the fuck is
I think what ends up happening is that a lot of people are kind of like indoctrinated or they're set in their ways. Because it's like, I look here in Canada and like you look at all the corruption going on with Trudeau and you think it's abundantly obvious this guy needs to go. But there's still a good faction. There's still a good faction in here that still support him or at least support the Liberal Party. And I think like why? But it's like, it's kind of like tribalism. It's like you go with your tribe. That's just how it is.
Yeah, once they're convinced that a group is evil, they're just never willing to even remotely consider anything about that group ever again.
Well, it's also
a lot of people are like that.
Well, true. But like I said, I think the thing here is the tribalist kind of thing. That people want to go to what's familiar, to what they've always done, because they think that like. Here in Canada, the Liberal Party is red, so we think red. I'm going to vote red, no matter who's in the red seat there. It's like that's the guy I'm going to go because I believe in the liberal ways, and they're not really thinking logically. And I think part of the problem with that is that most people. This is the problem with everyone getting a vote. Is that a lot of people don't care about politics. They're just like, oh yeah, whatever, and then they'll get on with their lives. It's like this is a very, very, very important thing. That you'll ever participate in your entire life, and most people don't care. They legitimately don't care. They have no interest in this whatsoever. And I think, how the fuck is this supposed to function if no one is taking interest in the thing that affects them directly?
That's somewhere along the line, they stopped teaching it at schools. Because when I was in school, they still covered some politics and stuff. Like, they went over the various different parties and what their beliefs were. We had a fake presidential election, And in our election, a different guy won because we weren't partyists. We voted for Ross Perot on that election. That school did.
Even if you did do something like that, I still don't think it's going to matter because most people
I'm
are very.
just saying, but like I
know,
don't think anybody else has had that experience after like maybe 5 years after that. I think they stopped doing it altogether. So like,
no, I know
you used
schools
to
that
learn
still
about politics in a meaningful way, but you don't anymore.
Well, I do know schools that do still do that. A lot of them do still teach this kind of stuff, but like I say, like a good portion of people are just too apathetic and they just don't care,
Yeah.
because it's the last thing. Because when you think about how important is politics to your life, well, logically it's very important, but to the average person, it's not. It's like
there's no direct connection because the connection is so far removed. They don't understand that the miseries in their life are direct responsibility of the politics. They think it's
but they're never
they just
going to
want to blame somebody, and so the party they've always voted for says, "Well, blame them. They're Nazis," and they're like, "Oh, they're Nazis. Nazis bad. Vote against Nazis."
I think that there's a good portion of people who are never going to care.
Yeah.
I think that like education, you can do all the education you want. Most people are just not going to care because they're just gonna. It's like well, what's your social issue? Blah 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 blah, and then move on, because the majority will not give a rat's ass. And I guarantee you that they're the undecided. And then you have people who are probably going to switch one way or the other if they are going to be like that. But who knows? One.
There was oh god, it's so funny. One of the guys I know in VR chat's like 21 or so, and he was talking to some fucking lunatic. Unbeknownst to us at the time, the person was a fucking lunatic. But a few minutes later, he's chatting to this person. I go over and sing one of my songs and do the karaoke and come back, and he's like, so that person left, and then he sent me a DM on Discord, and I feel like this is something that we can appreciate. This
all right.
This person is a plural, so it's like dissociative identity disorder, except there is no switching. They're both just aware, always like roommates. The person they share a body with is a boy, and they're their husband. For 7 years now, they've been a husband and wife in one body. But he was there first, so the body is male.
Wait, what's this? Husband and wife sharing a body?
This person in VR chat sent one of my friends this fucking crazy DM about like how they're a plural, where they're two souls in one body, but they're like living together like roommates. There's no switching between identities, and it's yeah. She lives in the body along with her husband who's lived together for 7 years, and they share the body and they're always there all the time.
Yeah, that's called in fantasy and all that those kind of people are called rebuses. That's
I don't
a rebus.
know, they're fucking psycho, dude. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's nonsense. But
the female part of the soul comes from an alternate Earth that the male part of the soul made up in his head. Yeah, that's a fun
totally, yeah. Is he a Scientologist? Because that sounds vaguely Scientology.
And she came from Japan, and they lived in a world where Vocaloids were real people. That allowed them to do cool things with their voice. Yeah.
Vocaloids, eh?
But they do want everybody to know they're into feet. They're into ghost possession and feet. Those are their kinks.
Well, either this is someone that's legitimately crazy, or is someone just trolling. It sounds like
it could be either one. It's so fucking hard to tell these days. That's what we figured. We figured it had to be trolling, and we hoped that it was trolling, just in general. But it was such a wacky batshit thing that I felt you guys would appreciate the bizarreness of it. for a little bit of entertainment.
Sounds like something where they just are continually adding to their fucking bullshit story.
Could
Yep.
be.
Like he'll come back next week with even more added to his fucking
Even more wacky,
weird fucking lore. Yeah.
Yep. I think you're right. I think this is insanity. Anyway, so this will be like your guys' last stream till Christmas.
Oh yeah.
What's your Christmas plans?
We're gonna cook up a nice ribeye, and that's it. We're not doing like a big party or a big Christmas thing, and
no turkey, no ham.
no, we did that on Thanksgiving, and I'm just not interested. I don't think anybody else in the house is either. Nobody really wants to do all that work, or even eat all that food.
See, like the way I see it, it's like you take all that, and then all the leftover turkeys, like that, you have turkey sandwiches for the next couple of days. For me, it's always been pretty good.
Oh yeah, I love the leftover turkey stuff, dude. It takes me about a week before I get sick of it, dude. I really like turkey a lot.
See, what I would do is I'll cut up the turkey into little things, and I'll put some teriyaki sauce in a frying pan, heat it up, and then put the turkey in. So that way it sticks on there. Because really, all you're doing is reheating the turkey.
Right.
I mean, like it's already cooked, so you're good to go. You just need to reheat it. So you add some teriyaki sauce and whatever. You can always put them in a sandwich with some mayonnaise and whatever else you put in there.
I like doing like the leftover sandwich where you take a little bit of each thing if you can and put it in there, like some stuffing and some cranberry jelly and a little bit of gravy.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
All good shit. I prefer the open face sandwich or whatever.
Depending on how much stuff you put in there, it can be, you might have to make it an open face just because sometimes there's so many different things that you can't close that sandwich ever.
Yeah, well, I make the thing where I'm not planning to pick it up. I'm just going to eat it off a plate.
Yeah.
So I literally just put like a piece of bread, put down some mashed potatoes, turkey, a little gravy, another piece of bread, mashed potatoes, turkey, gravy, and whatever. And then depending on the mood, either I'll put the cranberry sauce in with it on top or on the side. Either way, it's good shit. And then just eat it with a fucking fork because most of it breaks apart pretty easily. Indeed. Or just a straight up sandwich. Literally just turkey with a little mayo on the bread. That's enough. That's good shit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. We make dishes out of it. Like we'll make pot pie or tetrazzini or whatever. So, like, the turkey we did for Thanksgiving was pretty massive for 4 people. So we've got like 4 or 5 pounds of turkey like stocked away in the freezer for like meals and stuff. So we can just defrost it and do whatever we want. Sandwiches, whatever. Soup, whatever.
We went out.
Yeah, I'll usually buy another turkey because it's so goddamn cheap and just freeze it and end up cooking it within a few months or whatever. But this year I did not do that. So that sucks. But yeah, when they're selling it for like less than $1 a pound, that's a pretty good deal.
Yep, true, very true. All right. Well, this is. We did start super late, but this is the normal time, and my back's kind of killing me.
Yeah, that's fine, dude.
So.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
Why is your back sore?
Yeah.
I was running around at the doctor's office all day. I fucked my knees up, and I had to go have them checked out so that I could get more time off of work, potentially.
Oh.
Yeah. Don't listen to him. It's because he's arthritic and fat.
Yeah. Fucking doctor. But anyway, before we get wrapped up into that, I need to go lay down. My back's starting to fucking